Man, oh man, have I got a treat for you guys today. Today, we are playing All Walls Must Fall. And this is a turn-based strategy game with time-bending elements. Oh yes, oh yes. Take a little bit of XCOM 2 and a little bit of Time Shift and you start to get the right idea. It's Berlin, November 2089. The Cold War, it never ended. For 150 years, both sides have used time manipulation technology to observe and counter each other's every move. Now this fragile state of affairs is approaching a breaking point as rogue nuclear strikes could send the world into turmoil. Both sides have scrambled to send agents back in time to find who is behind these attacks and how to prevent it. If they fail, the whole world will turn to ash forever. And that, my friends, is the plot of this game that has completely taken me by surprise. I had no idea going into this that I was going to end up enjoying this game as much as I do. There's something addictive about it. I mean, to be fair, my fascination with this overall style of gameplay probably started with Shining Force on the Genesis, where you had a big open map and it was almost like playing chess and maneuvering your characters and maximizing your skills and whatnot, and where you're not really playing with some big massive crowd of characters like with Shining Force. It still kind of scratches that itch for me, you know? And of course, it plays very similar to XCOM 2, which, to be honest, I started off with the original XCOM, which was way different than XCOM 2. But XCOM 2 was a lot of fun for me too, and again, it's because it kind of scratches that itch for me of that Shining Force style of turn-based strategy gameplay. But of course, this game mixes in the whole time manipulation bit into it too, so it gives it a really unique twist. And one of the coolest things about it is watching the recaps of your moves in real time. You can assess the situation and meticulously plan out every move that you're going to make, and then once you execute it, you get to sit and watch, and something that could have taken you 15-20 minutes to plan out, depending on how good you are, goes by in a matter of seconds. And there's just something really cool about that. The art style is really unique because you have this isometric 3D look to everything, but the characters have this 2D, almost Paper Mario style to them. And it's got a very muted, almost Matrix-like color palette in some levels, and then you get this huge splash of color when you get into things like the nightclubs and whatnot, and it just gives it a really cool, almost noir look. I really like the graphics of the game, and the whole juxtaposition of your kind of paper craft style 2D character in a 3D plane look. I just dig it. If someone had described it to me without me seeing it, I probably would have thought, well, that's going to look really kind of stupid. But seeing it in motion, I get it, and I really like it. As I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of electronica, house, trance, European dance hall, techno-style music. I've never been a big fan of that kind of thing. It's just not for me. I'm a guitarist. I'm a musician. I like live instruments. I just don't get into electronic music that much. That being said, there are some memorable tunes in this game. So I found myself kind of tapping my foot to stuff that normally I would turn my nose up at. So again, I've got to give props with the music. It's not my cup of tea normally, but with this game and in the plot that it's in and being in Berlin the way that it is, it fits and you can dance to it. One problem that can really be the Achilles heel of this subgenre is repetitiveness. This type of game can potentially get really repetitive and bland and boring fairly fast when you run through a number of successive battle scenarios and you're using the same strategies to win, you're doing the same moves, you're using the same tactics over and over again, the same manipulations of weaknesses in the AI, that kind of thing. But this game does enough to switch things up to keep that from really occurring. A good example of that is there's more than just the simple combat mechanics and sneaking around and whatnot. Because, yeah, there's combat, but there's also stealth elements, which you guys know that I'm not a huge fan of stealth. But in this case, it actually kind of breaks things up. But there's also an interrogation mechanic where you have to get information from spies. Now, it's not as sophisticated or in-depth as, say, for example, L.A. Noire's interrogation minigame, but it's still there, and it adds something different and new for you to do. I really don't have a lot negative to say about this game. Aside from a few graphical glitches where walls would disappear at random, I couldn't really find anything wrong with it from a technical standpoint. It's just a really, really fun strategy game. Anyone that's big into XCOM 2 really loved that game. This is something that you should seriously look into. Going into this review, I had no idea that I would get as into this as I did. I ended up losing hours into it without even realizing it. It's a definite win. When you add in the fact that it's got some roguelike elements to it and has procedurally generated levels guaranteeing you that you're always going to have a slightly different experience than what you did the last time you played it, I just have nothing but positive stuff to say about this game. I was completely surprised by it. I've completely fallen in lust with this game. It's $14.99 on Steam. If you like this kind of thing, you really should check it out. All Walls Must Fall gets a 6 out of 7.